chance.
To the Breakthrough Show. It's Shirley and Jessica. Yes, we love y'all.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of My Way, Conversations with Entrepreneurs Doing Business Outside the Box. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I'm super excited to be with you for another episode this evening. Our guest tonight, to be honest with you, does not need an introduction. He just does not need an introduction, but we're going to attempt to give him one anyway, even though when you ask him to tell you about himself and give you his bio, he literally just says, "I'm awesome." So we're going off that this evening. He's the owner of Energetic Magic. He's the award-winning author of I Get to Be Vanna White, How to Rewrite Your Reality by Shiraz, and the host with the most from Rewriting Reality. Please welcome to the show, Shiraz.
Hey.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Very, very happy to have you here this evening as our special guest for My Way. Everybody's used to seeing you on Rewriting Reality on the Breakthrough Show Network, and you've been on Project Joy several times, and you've been on the Breakthrough Show before, but it's been a minute since you've been on the Breakthrough Show. So, we had to have you come on something here.
No, you got to have your regular doses of me.
That's it. Yeah. In very, very small doses at one time. No, it's fantastic. This is the perfect show for you, though, because ever since I met you, it's always been Shiraz does things his way. Period. End of story. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. So I'm glad that you're going to tell the people how it is tonight. Get ready to take some notes, everybody, because this is going to be an amazing show. I know it already. I would love for you to head over to the comment section, say hello if you're joining us live or on the replay tonight, and be sure to put any questions you might have for Shiraz there. And he may or may not answer them. I don't know, because he does things his way. We're gonna find out. But Shiraz, for people that may live under a rock and they have not seen you before, tell everybody a little bit about you, where you're at in the world, and what exactly it is that you do for what is this reality shifting stuff?
It's reality. Okay. Well, I am in Toronto in the world. So that's where I am. The reality shifting stuff is something that everyone does every day, but most people don't do it consciously. And I train you how to do it consciously. So you can just say, I'd like reality to shift. And it does. It's really, really cool. It's like when I had a conversation with Jessica and I'm like, I want to be on My Way. And she's like, okay, book. And I looked at her and said, September? I don't want to be at September. She's like, that's all that's available. So then, like I said, I don't want that September thing. And I get a call from Jessica saying, hey, you know what? We had a cancellation in March. I'm like, that's in a couple of weeks. That works much better for me.
That's how that worked. But most of us are doing that subconsciously, right? Like we're not thinking about like, I want to shift things. I'm just going to hope that this person cancels. And then I like, we're doing it not consciously, right?
Yeah. So it's funny because you like everyone get ready to take notes. And I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to provide content. I thought I was just going to hang out with you for an hour. So.
Oops. Yeah, there's going to be content tonight. No, but it's going to be good. You know, I don't prefer here's the 10 questions I'm going to ask and boredom, because nobody needs that in their lives.
Okay.
That's it.
Tell you what, I will educate people on the mechanics of how the entire universe works.
Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Let's do it.
Okay. So we start at the quantum level.
Oh, here, I got to blow you up for this. There you go.
Okay. It's funny because we're talking at the quantum level, you decide to make things bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So there have been a lot of experiments done over the years and in quantum physics about, is light a particle or is light a wave? And the answer they've come up with is it's both. But then the problem is, when is it a particle and when is it a wave? So they do a bunch of these experiments called double slit experiments, where they shine light through a couple slits and see the pattern that comes up on the wall. And sometimes the pattern shows that it's a wave, and sometimes it shows that it's a particle. But they had one experiment where they had a consistent result that it's a particle. In this experiment, it's always a particle. And someone said, hey, what if there are waves coming through, but they're just not hitting the wall, and all we're seeing is particles? And they're like, what if that is happening? How do we figure that out? So they got a little device that just looks for waves, and they put it right by one of the slits, just to see if there's any waves coming through that aren't showing up later on the wall. And when they did that, the pattern on the wall changed to a wave. And they're like, wait, what? Because they didn't do anything that should change the experiment. All that device did was look for a wave. And so when they looked at this more, they found out that when they are looking for a wave, they get a wave. When they are looking for a particle, they get a particle. So what you are anticipating, you create at a quantum level. Now, when you take that to our world and realize that this is happening at a quantum level, whatever you are anticipating, you are bringing into your world. And that's going on from your thoughts that are happening all the time. The problem is 97% of your thoughts are unconscious. So you have to understand what's running in the background. So when you hear about things like law of attraction, and you have to do these exercises where you feel the way you want to be, you imagine where you want to be and feel the feelings of having that. What you're doing is you're observing the life you want and then bringing it in. The problem is people do this like, okay, I'm going to imagine it, I'm going to feel it. And they do this for, I don't know, 2 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever.
2 minutes.
Some people do. I'll do it, I'll do my 2-minute exercise. Some people go for 2 hours and they're almost like this meditative state. But then the rest of the time, their thoughts are the exact opposite. Oh, I did my meditation, I thought about it, but now I don't have it. And I don't have the car I want. And the money's not in my bank account. And every one of those thoughts is an anticipation of what's actually going to show up in your world. Even though you're thinking it's the present, it's like it's creating the future as you go. So it's a matter of changing what the thoughts in the background are running to create what's happening in the present. And that's where a lot of people get messed up, because they think, well, I just have to do a little of these exercises, but it is the underlying constant repetition of thoughts that are running in the background that has to be changed.
Right.
If it was easy, everyone would have everything they want. The techniques, though, are actually quite simple, but people just don't do them.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 questions. One of them is going to be for everybody, and the other one is we're going to go down an entrepreneurial rabbit hole together. But the first question for everybody is, this sounds really, really woo woo. And it sounds like, I lost my job last week and I certainly didn't wish for that. And I have fibromyalgia and I certainly didn't wish for that. And I have XYZ and I don't recall. I know you were talking about subconscious, but I don't recall even like remotely how is this happening? Like, I think sometimes it can be hard for people to grasp, and it can be easy for them to go down the rabbit hole of, I wouldn't have chosen this for myself. Now I'm going to beat myself up because apparently I've chosen this for myself. Like, how do you, when people start to get it, like, oh, I'm creating my reality, how do you suggest that they handle that? Because I feel like it's a lot of responsibility on someone's shoulders all of a sudden to go from this victim mentality of everything's happening to me to, oh shit, I'm creating it.
Okay. Whenever you're creating something, it's because at some level you want to create it. And figuring out why you want to create it is the key. So for instance, I used to have severe rheumatoid arthritis. And at a certain point in my life, if someone said, you're creating that, Shiraz, I would have told them to go to hell. There's no way I would create this. Do you realize how much pain I'm in? But then when I was ready to hear it, I met a guy, we went through this whole process, and he said, well, Shiraz, you believe you're responsible for everyone in your life. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, I know you don't think that consciously, but from everything you've told me and we've talked about, you've created a belief that you're responsible for everyone in your life. And I said, okay, what's that got to do with arthritis? He said, well, you don't want to be responsible for everyone. And if you're lying in bed in pain, you don't have to be responsible for anyone and you don't have to feel guilty about it. And one can come up and say, Shiraz, why aren't you taking care of me? So it's the solution to a problem you don't realize you have. And when I learned that, and I learned that all I have to do is make that decision not to be responsible for anyone but me, the arthritis went away overnight. And it was the crazy thing. I'm like, I am pain-free. I've been pain-free for years now. And when I look back now from this point of understanding, I'm like, oh, I get it. I get what I did. It seems really stupid now that I look at it. But in the moment, my brain just said, how do I get out of this and not feel guilty? And most of the restrictions you're creating in your life and in your business are through because you're trying to avoid feelings of guilt or shame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I worked with a woman. She was trying to start her business, and it just wouldn't start. No one, she couldn't get customers. She'd post that she had services available. No one would take her up on it. And when I finally started working with her, I found out that she had this worry. Well, when I do this and I do it for free, I get great results. But what if I charge people and I don't get great results? I'm going to feel like crap. What if I charge for the results and then they give me a review on Google, 1 star, doesn't know what she's talking about, right? And all these little fears were causing her business not to grow, right? And she didn't want to acknowledge them before, but now we brought it up, and I'm like, what if you do it? What if you do work with someone, and they look at you and they say, hey, you know what? I'm not happy with that. How would you feel? She's like, oh no, everyone's got to be happy. I'm like, what do you mean everyone's got to be happy? There's no room for error. It has to be perfect every time. It's not perfect, but I can't leave a client and have them unsatisfied or upset or angry. And I'm like, well, that's going to happen, right? The intention is not to make it happen and to have results as much as possible, but you have to be an allowance that that's going to happen on occasion. And some people are just so tied up and like, no, that they don't let their business grow or even start.
Right. I think, it's one of those things where it was hard for me when I first started hearing about my own beliefs and my own personal responsibility for things that were going on in my life, because I've had so much going on, and I'm going, how in God's name have I created all of this? Like, it was a lot for me to handle at once, but then it also was a space of empowerment for me to go, well, if I can create it, I can take it away. Can I? Like, that's a nice thing for me to think of as well. I want to quickly say hi to everybody before I get to my next question. So Brittany's here tonight. We have Deja here this evening. We have Angelique here this evening. We have Grimace here tonight, and we have JoJo, aka Jamar, popping in to say hello as well. I'm so glad that it's on point for you guys tonight, because and it's, look, I'm not, for those of you that are listening that you're like, I don't get it. I don't believe that it's, I think sometimes we have to reach that point. Have you had throughout the years of you doing this work, Shiraz, any pushback from people of like, I just don't believe that's how it works. Like, I would not create this stuff for myself.
Oh, absolutely. Because it doesn't, I mean, some of the things people create, there's no way I would create that.
Right.
And one of the things you got to realize is that you're really in control of the what and not the how. Right. So if you've got a story, let's say you've got a victim mentality. A victim mentality can cause people to take advantage of you. And it could cause people to embarrass you, humiliate you. It could cause people to attack you. But if all that's running under the surface is victim mentality, you don't know which one of those situations is going to show up. So that's the thing. You don't know the how, but you know the what. So and this is the thing. Some of it, it can get into the woo, but some of it is just brain mechanics. Right. So for instance, I used to get stopped at the borders over and over again. Right? They would always ask me extra questions. They would check my luggage. If I'm driving, they sometimes check my vehicle. And one time they check my body cavities. Like this stuff just happened. Right? And when I found out from one of my coaches that I was just in the story of getting checked at the borders, we had to look, okay, why do you want to get checked at the borders? There's always a benefit for your actions. And I said, there's no benefit, right? I'm getting searched. I'm getting humiliated. I'm getting delayed. There's no benefit. And he said, Shiraz, when you tell your stories about getting stuck at the border, you light up. Right? You see people's reactions and you're like, yeah, listen, I got more to tell you. Let me tell you about this time. Right? And so you have to keep getting caught at the border for nothing, right? So you can tell another story and another story and another story. On top of that, now you get to have a Black victimhood story.
Oh,
right. It's harder for me because I'm Black. You don't know what I have to go through because I'm Black. And a lot of people create these stories, even though they're striving to do great things, they make it harder. It's either fully victim or there's an underlying victim. I have to do so much more because I'm a woman. I have to do so much more because I'm Jewish. I have to do so much more because I'm Black, right? It's because of what I had to go through growing up. These stories make things harder, but you feel like I'm more powerful because of what I have to go through. I have better stories because of what I have to go through. And meanwhile, all you're doing is creating more obstacles in your path to success.
Right.
And when I realized I was doing that and I stepped out of that, I stopped getting checked at the border. Right? It stopped happening. And I looked back and I realized because of what I was in, because of my story, number one, my body language was different. So it made me look suspicious. Number two, did you know that there are non-white customs agents? Right?
Oh, really?
Yes. But I would line myself up with the white ones so that there was a greater possibility of racism occurring. Right? And I didn't even know I was doing it. Right. But it matched my story, and then I could tell my story. I could get my joy out of telling my story, shock all these people. And then I could also say, look how much harder it is for me. Right. You think you've got it easy. You guys have all got it easy. You're just fine. But I have to deal with this crap.
Yeah.
And people do that in their businesses. People do that in their lives. And this is not to do with anything with woo. This is your subconscious making things harder for you.
I'm glad that you brought that stuff up though, because today's, on the day that we're recording this, this is International Women's Day. And I was on a call this morning where somebody had mentioned that it was Women's Day and everybody was like, yay, and then someone quickly spoke up and was like, yes, it's Women's Day, but we have a lot to do. Like, we still have a lot to do. Like, and it just went to this from this this place of what I feel like is a celebration of all women everywhere.
Yep.
To, well, we still have a long way to go. Yeah, we may have come a long way, but we have a lot we have left to do, kind of thing. And it's like, well, that, like, you could just feel like, for me, it's not even just the conscious subconscious, like, you could literally feel the energy shift and you could cut it with a knife after that. Like, I just was like, I was in such a good mood. What just happened? Just there. And it was just the weirdest thing in the moment. And so Jojo said, this is a higher level law of attraction story that people may not know. It starts in their mind, Shiraz. And that's it. A lot of people do not know. They don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me ask you one more deep dive question before we get to switch gears to entrepreneurial stuff. But so we're talking about all of these things, and let's think of in the case of children.
Okay.
So small children that may have bad things happen to them, or they may be. Is it the same for children? Are they somehow creating it? And how do you sort of rectify that with them not having as much experience to create the bullshit like we do as adults?
The children get caught up in their parents' stories. They learn various stories of struggle, of empowerment, of victimhood, of happiness, of sadness, all from their parents. And so they create based on that.
Right.
And depending on the circumstances, they can create other situations to cope with the environment they're in. I guess, oh God, it's almost 10 years ago now. A family was going through a divorce, and one of the kids his vision started to go. And we were talking to the parents, and they're like, we don't know what's happening. It's just started up. And what had happened was that the parents were always fighting. And the kid didn't want to see his parents fighting anymore. So he was unconsciously affecting his own vision, so he didn't have to see his parents fight. Like, this is some of the things that we do. And from the kid's point of view, he didn't know what was going on consciously. He's just like, my parents are fighting and I'm losing my vision. How could this get any worse? But unconsciously, it's like his mind said the easiest way not to see your parents fight is not to see them. It's weird, like, but your subconscious goes for the easiest, simplest solutions from its point of view. Right? When it comes to like making money in your business, people are like, I want to make more money. I want to make a lot more money. But your subconscious may have other plans for you, because if you think, if at the back of your mind, if you know that when I start making lots of money, I know my family and friends are going to be like, hey, Jessica, can I get some money from you?
No.
Can you invest in this project, Jessica?
Right. That's exactly how it goes.
Right. But the thing is, if you don't want to go into that situation, your mind goes, oh, well, if I don't make that money, I'll never have to deal with that situation.
Right.
So I'll make just enough to make sure I'm safe.
Right.
And this is how it's all going on. The kids just get caught up in this. And one of the issues as an adult is, if you've had an event, a traumatic event, an intense event as a kid, oftentimes you're still reacting to it as a kid unconsciously, even though you're trying to either avoid the same emotional impact you had when you were 5 or 3. Although as an adult, you could deal with it a lot better, but you're still locked in. That's how I felt. That's how intense it was.
Right.
I'm going to protect myself from that intense feeling. And when you step out of that and realize I'm not going to feel that way because I'm older now and I've got more life experiences, I'm prepared for this, then you can slip out of that situation. But that's what's happening for a lot of people. And this is affecting your business.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up about the kids though, because what you said about the kids about picking up other people's stories is part of this whole picture as well for everyone. That sometimes these stories we're holding on to, sometimes these beliefs don't belong to us; they belong to. That's been my experience. It's so funny. Every time I've worked with Shiraz, it's like, okay, whose is that? Oh, it's not mine. I know. Let's fix this right now, because it's easy to adopt other people's crap. So switching gears now to the entrepreneurial side of things, again, with this, it's sounding off the cuff, kind of woo woo. Like, how did I know that you work with a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are trying to up level their businesses and all of that. How do you sort of make that introduction to people of what you do that might not be used to this kind of work?
With me, I mean, this goes to what story are you in?
Mm.
I can recommend how to do it, but with me, it's not an issue. I just start talking and people align and go, oh, that's really, really cool, because I'm not in the story that I've got to explain and justify and prove what I do works anymore.
Right.
But for people that are worried about that, I always start with, this is how your brain works, right? You've got neurons in your brain that are picking up on certain habits. So every time you have a habit, it's because you have a cluster of neurons saying, this is what I do. This is what I've always done. I have memories of it. I know I'm going to do it in the future. And so you've got this cluster. And every time you do something in that habit or in that story, the cluster grows a little more. So it becomes more powerful and it cements in that behavior. And in order to change that, you've got to cause that cluster to shrink and replace it with another cluster that has that different habit or the different story. And this can be tough because while you're doing that, this is still firing, still causing you to take action, still causing the same results to come up. So you're saying, I want this, but you're still seeing this. And you've got to wait until you see more and more of this. And I think the easiest way to look at it is, okay, I am too skinny and I want to go to the gym and I want to build up. And then you go to the gym and you go to the gym and you go to the gym, but you're still skinny for a while, right? But when you're at the gym, you don't go, well, I went to the gym 4 or 5 times now and I'm still skinny. Like, you understand there's a process. It's going to take a while. It's going to take work. But with mindset, people give up long before they get to that muscular level.
Right.
Right. And that's the biggest problem, because it is this big process.
Mm.
And when you do it on a regular basis and you do specific things for specific clusters of neurons, then you'll get the change. But that's the other problem, is sometimes people have these things they want to change in their lives. And so then they work on this and they work on this and they work on this and they work on this. And meanwhile, none of the clusters are actually decreasing at any great rate. And sometimes you bring them down and then you don't work on them and they build back up. You're like, this stuff doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, it does work, but you're not doing it like you would at a gym.
Mm. Well, and it brings up the point of, there's people obviously there that may be listening and going, okay, so if I come to you and we clear this stuff, I'm good, right? Like, that's it.
Yeah, no,
Am I done? How do you actually make money then, Shiraz? Because
the thing to remember is, number one, you're addicted to your current habit patterns, your stories and everything. And every time a story plays out, you get to be right.
Mm.
Okay. And people love being right. Okay. See?
Me, pick me. Can't see my hand, but pick me.
And people will choose to be right over being rich, over being successful, over being happy. And then the thing is, every time you're right, your brain gives you a dose of dopamine and it feels good. Even though the result may be horrible. I tried to do another launch of a product and it just failed miserably again, right? You're like, oh my God, again. But in the back of your mind, it's like, see, again, I knew it again. I'm right again.
Mm.
And so you're stuck in that addiction of dopamine.
Yeah.
So you can create an addiction to good things, but your brain doesn't want to let go of what it feels is a good thing and it's working and it's familiar.
Mm.
Right. So when you are willing to go through the withdrawal purpose, and that I've seen that take on average about 6 months for a person.
Mm.
For some people, it's gone like over a year. But typically it's around 6 months, and sometimes it's sooner. Like for me with the airport thing, it was just like, oh, I'm doing that, done. And it fell apart right there. But you have to be willing for that to happen, the miracles, and you have to be willing for the process that can take years and everything in between. But most people are like, no, it's got to be the miracle or screw it. Like, what's the point? It's like, I just got to go through more of this and more of this. No, I don't want that. And that's why the changes don't come. Like even now with my life is continually improving. Is it amazing and I can afford everything I want? No, but it's way better than it was before. And I see the shifts happening and I celebrate the shifts. And every now and then something bad happens, but I don't drop back into, oh my God, I've lost it. It's over. I thought I had it. It was just like, okay, that happened. Now let's just keep moving forward. And a lot of people, when something bad happens, they love to dwell in it. Right. And here's the thing. If something bad happens to you, and just like with me with the cross borders, and you have to tell this person and this person and this person, every time you're telling another person, you're locking it in more. Right. So do you want to lock in the bad crap?
Yeah. What's interesting about that is that when I first started getting into spiritual development for myself and personal development and all of that, the one thing that hit me right out of the gate was breathing life into something. So when we say things out loud, I literally breathing life into it. And I used to say that all of the time. This was years ago now. And people would laugh at me that were in my, because, this was woo-woo Jessica starting to come out to play, and they were like, who the hell is this? This is not, but that was also my own story that I realized looking back of like, nobody's going to accept me for who I am. Like I have to be this person that they want me to be, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would say that all the time. Like I would and that was one of the first things that I really got. And I'm constantly telling my kids, be very careful with what you say. Like just watch your language, watch what you say. And do you really want, and so I would be bratty Jessica, and the kids and maybe possibly my husband would say something. And I would be like, do you really want to breathe life into that? Like I was that person. I would literally walk around and say that but that was the first thing that I really got, that I really understood about when you say something. And I noticed that too. And we've had this conversation when we've worked together of, because the Breakthrough Show Network is founded upon this concept of telling your story. It's like, okay, but which angle of the story do we want to tell? And how many times are we going to tell the same story, repeating the story over and over? So how can people tell their story without necessarily reliving their story every single time?
When you can tell a story and you have no emotional charge left on the story, you can tell it as often as you want. When you tell that story and you still feel it, then you're not ready. You're stuck in it and you're recreating it. There's a phrase that's been coming up in the last month over and over again in different places I've been going to. So obviously I'm pulling it in, but it's you speak from the scar, not from the wound.
Ooh.
Right.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I'm trying to bring myself back on the screen, but I'm just overwhelmed by that one. That's really good. That's a really good one. That's going to be a little clip. Make sure you're following us on social media. So that's so good though, because we do get so emotionally wrapped up in our things. And as we talk about this in the sense of entrepreneurs, we may think, oh, it's just my business. I'm not getting, I get very emotional about my business.
Oh, yeah. And when you stop getting so emotional and just get into more of a flow, you can actually have more business. Right? I know it's your baby. My business is my baby.
Stop it. Get out of my head, Shiraz, because I literally just said in my head, but it's my baby.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Like, not the problem, but the thing I have with all my clients is they're like, stop getting in my head. It's just
stop it. It's horrible. It's hard, but it's so good because we need when we need to get out of these really emotional places, we need somebody that's like, you are being emotional right now, because we don't often see it. We don't see how wrapped up we are, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And people will deny it. People will cover it up. People will do that because they've been taught that, and so that just makes it worse. But it's running there.
Mm.
And it's funny because if people do have a big emotional reaction, that's when you know you've touched on something, right?
Mm.
So I had a girl in one of my workshops, and it was a money workshop. She wanted to make more money in her business, and she started talking about her business, and she could never make more than, I think it was $25,000 a year. And if she got a little higher than that, something would happen, the business would collapse, and then she'd have to build it up again. And I looked at her and I said, "Are you proud of your poverty?" And she lost her mind.
Oh.
What? Where do you get off saying that? You don't know my life. I work so hard to try to be successful. Blah, 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 blah. Just like, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. Okay. Obviously, I was wrong there, and I apologize. And I just hope you forgive me. We'll just move on from this, and hopefully we can get some other results from other people. But this is on me. And the thing is, I knew if I get that bigger result, I've nailed it. She's not in a position to listen to me, so I had to let that go. And I continued to do the workshop, but I was working with other people. And then about 20 minutes later, she just pipes up, "You can be rich and miserable, or you can be poor and happy." And I looked at her, I said, "What?" She goes, "My parents used to say that over and over growing up."
Mm.
"Would you describe that as being proud of your poverty?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you think that maybe hearing it over and over again, it might have sunk into?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are we ready to address this now?" She's like, "Yeah." Okay. So
See, and I'm so here for these moments in your workshops and stuff that you do, because we've all had them in Shiraz's workshops, you guys. Like, we've all had these moments where we're like, Shiraz will point something out and we're like, "Nah, we're not doing that. We're not creative." And let me just I just had a whole epiphany myself here. When we say, "Oh my God," this is going to be one for the books. Oh, Lord, here we go. When we say, "I'm not doing that," isn't that us doubting how powerful we are?
yep.
Shit, I'm done. I'm off the show. I can't do it anymore. Oh my God. And we do that so often. We go, "Oh, I couldn't be doing that. I couldn't, and that's doubting how much power we have over our own lives." And do you guys really want to give away your power continually like that?
Yeah. And the thing is, when you embrace this, and when something big goes well or goes wrong, and you're like, "I did that,"
Hmm.
like, that's just reinforcing to your own subconscious, this is how powerful I am. There was one time that I was going to a movie with my roommate, and we usually go, there's a movie theater literally 3-minute drive from here.
Mm-hmm.
And we go once a month. Well, we used to, then COVID. We'll be going again soon. But one month there was a 80s movie revival going on at another theater. And it was some of our favorite movies. So I said, "Let's go there and watch these 80s on the big screen." And he's like, "Okay, sounds good." And so we're going out and we're heading to his car. And he looks at me and goes, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're getting in your car. You always drive." He goes, "I drive when it's 3 minutes away. This is 40 minutes away." So we're taking your car. And I'm like, "Oh, frig. Okay, fine." So we get in my car and we start driving. And 5 minutes into the drive, my dashboard lights up with every single light you can imagine. And he looks over because like the light is just shining off the dashboard. He's like, "What the hell is going on?" I said, "I don't know." So we turned around, got back, parked my car, got into his car, drove to the movie theater, came back. Weekend went on, and when Monday came around, I took my car into the shop, came back, and I said, $1,000 to fix my car.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked at me and goes, "Wow, you really didn't want to drive to that movie, did you?" And I went, "Oh my God, you're right. I did not want to drive to that movie so badly. I was willing to do $1,000 worth of damage to my car." And that was just me owning it, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and now I look back and I say, "Yeah, you don't want me to go someplace in your car? you better watch that crap.
It's such a crazy story because it sounds so ludicrous, right? That we would do something so extreme but that's how I feel like that's how stubborn we are as humans we are not going to do this. You can't tell me I am the boss of my life. Kind of thing, that we create all of this stuff to hold us back from the stuff that we really need to do, or maybe don't want to do, because that's why we're creating it.
But this is how it happens, and we look at it as though it's something that happened to you, not by you. I've seen people not show up for my class or show up late enough for my classes so that they miss the thing that would change their lives. Okay. So, and it's not a coincidence. I think, well, I missed the bus, or I had problems, or the kids were being a pain. But no, you created the circumstances so you don't have to change the things you don't want to change. And you can just as easily create the circumstances to change the things you want to change. But it's how much resistance is there? What's on the other side of that change that you're afraid of, that you're worried about? And people want to build their businesses consciously. But the biggest excuses I've come up with for not building the business: the bigger my business, the more responsibility I have to have. Okay. The more my business grows, the busier I'll get, the less time I'll have. Right? Handling all that money makes me nervous. What if I do something wrong with it? What if I lose it? What if I'm irresponsible with it? Right? And that I'm responsible for every one of my employees and my clients. Right? So these beliefs just keep people small, because it's like all that's going on. And a lot of it is just the story you tell. I'm not responsible for any one of my clients. I know a lot of coaches, healers, and even just entrepreneurs that sell things. It's like everyone has to be incredibly happy, and I'm responsible for how they feel. Now, here's the big thing about that: is your unconscious mind doesn't put dividers up for a lot of things. So if you're responsible for your client, it doesn't say, well, I'm just responsible for my client getting a good session. I'm responsible for my client. Right? That's a lot. Oh, my client's unhappy because of something going on at home. Oh, I'm responsible for that too. And that just weighs down on you. Every bit of responsibility weighs down on you. With me, when I'm with the client, I am present and I give the biggest contribution I can to that client in the moment. And then they're gone. I'm not responsible for them at that point. I go on and do my life. Because if I'm responsible for them and then I go into another client session and that session wasn't perfect, then I'm in the new session. I'm still thinking about the old session. So I'm not fully present with this client. And then I go to another client. Now I'm thinking about the last two clients. And my, what's the word? Efficiency just goes down.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't want to be responsible for any of your clients. You don't want to be responsible for any of your employees. I mean, and they say that the boss is responsible for the employees. No, the boss is responsible for creating an environment in which the employees can thrive. If the employees choose not to thrive, that's on them, right? That's not on you. You give them the opportunities. If they choose not to, they're gone. If they choose to, you've got a great team.
Yeah. This is a huge thing. And I know that it is one of the several things that I'm working on, because I do take a lot of responsibility, because I feel, and I know now from our conversations that we've had just tonight, that there is an emotional connection there, that I get emotionally invested in people. And then I feel responsible as a result of that emotional connection. And I feel like there's a way to be connected to someone without necessarily getting wrapped up in it? Or do you feel like it's an all or nothing?
No, you can be connected without getting wrapped up. And that's how you should be for most of the relationships in your life. Because when you're in a place where you're not emotionally drawn in and sucked into whatever drama is going on with them, you're actually in a better space to help them. It doesn't mean you care less. It just means that you're out of that situation where you feel like you're caught up and you have less control. Right? Oh, and then control. That's the last thing with people, especially with solo entrepreneurs going to build their businesses. Only I know my business. Only I can do it right. No one gets my business like I do. And when you're in that attitude, you will either not hire the help you need, or you will hire help that doesn't do it right. So you can say, see, only I know my business. Look what they've screwed up, or look the direction they want to take it. That's not where I want. And you will do this. You'll unconsciously choose these people just so you can be right, that only you know how to run your business. Only you can do it right. And that one phrase, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. That's such a load of crap. The things that, like, if I want my marketing done right, I hire a marketing team. Like, I don't know marketing. Yeah. Screw that.
Yeah. I mean, that relieves some of the pressure of feeling like we have to know all of the things. And I know, like, and we've talked about that before. That was one of the things that I've cleared with you. And then right after we cleared it, and I hired people, and it was like magic. Like, it was like, oh my God, I don't have to do absolutely everything myself. What are you talking about? But it did take some clearing of that victim mentality of, oh my God, I've spent the last 3 years having to learn this stuff myself because I didn't have anyone, and poor Jessica, and all of this stuff that I was caught up in, the emotional part of it, and clearing that out of the way. So I'm getting stuff done, and I'm living. People are so funny. They're always like, they'll message me and be like, I hope I'm not, you must have your hands full because, you do your show and you've got 975 children and you've got a husband that works in your office now. And you must be so, and I'm like, no, I'm just sitting here playing a game. And they're like, I don't understand. Like, what? How are you? Like, because I'm creating the schedule, the life, all of that I want to now. Like, I don't feel like I'm a slave to my job that I've created, which would be kind of stupid.
Yeah. And one of the goals that a lot of entrepreneurs don't get is the goal is to be replaceable. Right? And everyone thinks, no, I've got to be irreplaceable because that makes me special and that makes me important. But if you're irreplaceable, you can't take vacation. You can't get sick. And you may not be able to be replaceable at this point in time, but if you can't be replaceable now, you at least want to be the race car driver. Right? And this is an analogy that one of my doctors had told me, and it was like the best thing ever I heard about being an entrepreneur. He says, I am the race car driver, which means I drive the car. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? He goes, when someone's a race car driver, there's a lot involved. There is scheduling the race. There is building the car. There is the promotion. There is getting the sponsors there. But the race car driver just comes in, drives the car around, gets all the accolades, has an amazing time, and his life is amazing, is great. That's what I do in my business. I get all these other people to worry about the race. I come in and I do the surgery. And then I leave. And that's it.
Yeah, let's all be the race car driver. That's what we're going to do. Listen, if you guys have gotten anything out of our conversation this evening, go to the comment section. Let us know what your biggest takeaway is, or also if you have any questions for Shiraz. I wanted to ask you really quickly before we end tonight. This whole series of My Way is geared towards entrepreneurs who are doing things their way, but I know that often I feel like for most people comes with a price of people looking in, of saying like, you shouldn't be doing things that way. And why are you doing that? And just people questioning things and all of that. And I know that based on what we've talked about tonight, that is people creating that reality, right? That people are coming in and saying that stuff. So how would you say, if someone says like, I feel like I can't do things my way, what do you say to them as like a starting point of, how do you start building your business your way if you just don't seem to have the confidence to do it?
Okay. So there's a couple of things there. Number one is, if people are giving you advice, don't take advice from someone who's not successful in the area they're giving you the advice.
Okay. Say that again.
Don't take advice from someone who's not successful in the area that they're giving you the advice. Okay. It's very important.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But the other thing is, you can be successful in anything. You just have to embrace it and and do it your way. Right? There's nothing you can do in this world now, this connected world, that people will not pay you for. Right? I was on at my friend's place, and they were watching this guy doing a Twitch stream. He was playing video games, and he has a few 100,000 followers. And he put a challenge out that as long as you guys keep paying me money, I will continue to play, and we'll see how many days I can go. He was on day 3 playing video games straight. And I looked at how many people were online watching and the rate at which the money was coming in. And he was making $1,000 an hour for 3 days straight.
Oh my God.
Okay. So he was up to $72,000 for playing video games for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, look, and we see stuff like that all the time. Haven't you ever been scrolling through social media and you see a product come up on your thing, on your feed, and you think to yourself, who the hell would buy that? Mm-hmm. But here we are. Somebody's buying it. Yeah. The pet rock, for example.
Yeah. There's always a market. And here's the thing. If you have a product or a service and you align with 0.0000001% of the population, you have 70,000 customers. Okay.
Wow.
So you don't need to have that many people in your corner.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good point. I think we feel it can be challenging, I think, mentally when we are growing a business to go, we feel like we have to conquer the world. It's a bit like, that we have to sell to everybody, but there's a lot of people on this planet.
Yeah.
Like a lot. I met somebody from Canada the other day that did not know Shiraz.
What?
I know. I know.
There's that 0.00001% of the population there.
Oh, I love it. Well, I know that people can find you at energeticmagic.com. Do you want to tell everybody exactly what they can find there, Shiraz?
You can find, I don't know, a website. You can find out.
What can they do there?
What can they do? They can scroll and learn about their reality. They can click that show me how and book an appointment with me to have a discussion about how I can help shift your reality. But there it is. Look at that.
See, it's magic.
Time tomorrow. Okay. And then at the top, where is it? Oh yeah, all the way at the top. There. So the events that are coming up and those things, the foundation courses are how to do energetic magic yourself, how to alter your reality, shift it, and learn how to do it for other people. And the monthly magic program is a program I have that runs monthly, where I work with the group and we just shift belief after belief after belief. And this is the thing. It's a process. You're going through a withdrawal process. It's going to take a while of constant hits on your subconscious before things start to shift. And the cool thing is you can't have shifts immediately, but they're not going to stick unless you keep making that cluster of nerves get smaller and smaller. Not nerves, neurons get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Don't make our nerves get smaller. I feel like we couldn't feel our limbs after that, Shiraz, or something.
People want to get out of pain. I make the nerves go away. That's it.
That's it. That's what it is.
I made your last nerve go away just earlier today. So.
Oh God. Well, I love everything that you're doing in the world, and you're always, doing things your way. From the moment that I met you, that was one of the things that really stood out to me. Do you think that it's important for us to surround ourselves with people who are also doing things their way?
I think it's important to surround yourself with people that are empowered and doing things their way. Because there are people that are doing things their way and you don't want to be.
Good answer.
But being in an environment of growth, of ambition, of constant change, and this is the thing, because most people don't want change. They say they want it, but they don't. That's what's going to cause you to grow in your business and as a person. Right? I saw this thing just recently, and it so resonated. It said, if you've got a plant that is not thriving, you don't change the plant, you change the environment. So you need to plant yourself somewhere else where everything's set so you can grow much bigger. And you have to look at your environment. There's that saying, you get the average of the 5 people closest to you. How successful are the 5 people closest to you? Right? Start hanging out with more successful people. And I'm not saying abandon the people in your life, just spend a little less time with them and spend more time with the successful people. And you can actually end up inspiring those people that you're spending less time with so that they follow along with you. No one's going to grow if you all just stay in the same environment the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, surrounding yourself with people who are doing really well, but, and like you said, empowered is really important, but also, those people that are going to challenge you and be like, maybe, you haven't been doing things your way. Maybe you should start doing things your way. Yeah. Shiraz, it's been amazing as always having you on the show. It was a lot of fun. We are out of time. Do you have anything?
We have one last thing.
Yes.
Awesome. Here we go.
She likes it my way. My way. She keeps running back to see me do it my way.
Oh. Pretty soon we're going to get... Oh, I love it. I love it. That was perfect. I was going to ask if you had anything that you wanted to share with everybody before we leave, but that's it. That was everybody's dancing now. That's it. Gwen says, right, it's better to spend time with people who have the empowering mindset that are doing things their way. Lots of opportunities to learn from each other too. Love that as well. Shiraz, thank you so much for being here with us tonight for another episode of My Way. I appreciate you, my friend, for being here.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys, it's been another fantastic episode this evening. I appreciate you guys. You guys have been amazing out in the audience tonight. I know you've gotten so much from Shiraz and I's conversation this evening. If you have any other questions, if you're on the replay, or if you just wake up at 2 a.m. and have an epiphany because Shiraz was here, come and leave us a comment and let us know on the in the comments on social media as well. We would love for you to join our text community so you don't miss these incredible shows. Text the word breakthrough to 256-685-7092 in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico, 256-685-7092. I also encourage you to join our Discord server to chat with other fans, meet past guests of the show, and hang out with us. Just go to bit.ly/Discord breakthrough, bit.ly/Discord breakthrough. Coming up tomorrow on the Breakthrough Show Network, we have, of course, Project Joy in the morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. That is not Project Joy, but this is. Join us at 7 a.m. Central Time with myself. And then at 6 p.m. Central Time, catch an all-new episode of Divine DNA with Donnell and Angelique Jackson, digging deep into relationships on Divine DNA. Don't miss it. It's always a really good time. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you for watching or listening wherever you are in the world. And I want to encourage you to do things your way. And we'll see you in 2 weeks for another episode. Bye, everybody.